What a 45 minutes we've got coming up for you.
Mate, I got a bad head. I got in very late.
Yeah, this was the day when he announced his arrival, wasn't it? And just felt like for me this was set up for him as an Arsenal fan.
He's one of the coolest heads in the Emirates Stadium, no matter how elevated it gets. And whether it be away at Old Trafford, an equaliser at the Bridge, an equaliser against Bayern Munich, here he is again scoring in a massive, massive game.
This team is very, very wise and smart, and the technical level is underestimated because we scored a few set pieces.
What he does going forward and defensively, I just don't think there's anyone better than Timber. For me, yeah, he is the best right back in the league.
I sense a hunger in the team that has always been there, but not like this. It's almost obsessive.
Do we have the best manager in the league? Arteta's having an unbelievable season, but Pep's the best. Haaland's the best striker in the league. You know, sometimes I think, do you need the best individual, the best something? Maybe we've just got the best collective.
We haven't lost the emotion. That was a big part of us getting to this place where we're competitive again. I don't believe that Chelsea have what it takes to go the distance in the title race. Hello, I'm Harry Symeou and welcome to Inside Gooners, sponsored by talkSPORT Bet. What a 45 minutes we've got coming up for you after a dream North London derby at the Emirates yesterday. A 4-1 victory, an Eze masterclass and a 6-point lead at the summit of the Premier League. Here to put it all into words is Simon Collings, James Bayliss, and beaming in live from Cloud9 is Clive Palmer. Good to see you as well, Clive. First of all, guys, how are we feeling? Because it was just an incredible day, wasn't it, at Emirates Stadium?
It was a dream day, wasn't it? I think any Arsenal fan, if you'd said, how do you want that North London derby to go? That's pretty close how you would have scripted it. And Febrechi Eze, boyhood Arsenal fan, first North London derby, a hat-trick. Yeah, it doesn't get any better than that.
Exactly. James, you look like you're buzzing too.
I was at the game, dream day, dream weekend. I mean, it was just perfect. The context of all the other results, to extend our lead at the top, beat Tottenham 4-1. Yeah, great weekend.
Great weekend. And Clive, how are you feeling? I listened to your podcast on my way home and you were making me smile. You were so happy.
Mate, I got a bad head. I got in very late.
As it should be. As it should be on North London Derby Day, Clive. That's how it goes. Simon, let me come to you because going into the game, I'm not going to say there was an anxiety, but there was a little bit of a concern with regards to who would be fit. Obviously, Arsenal lost Gabriel during the international break. That was a big blow. How do you think Mikel Arteta handled the absence of Gabriel in particular? Nketiah proved to be the right choice, but is that what you would have done from the outset, do you think?
It was my pick before the game. I know that sounds easy with hindsight, but I just felt stylistically, had that left foot, right foot balance, which I think is so important. But also a big thing with Gabriel is his emotion. He's passionate, he's aggressive, he's front-footed. And I think Nketiah brought that to the defence. And also I think Saliba, that suits him as well. He likes to drop off and sweep up, and having Nketiah go in there and attacking the first ball, getting out into the Spurs attackers, I think really set the tone. I thought he did brilliantly. Before yesterday, he played 26 minutes of Premier League football. Starts in the North London derby, does that. And we talk a lot about depth with Arsenal, don't we? And I think that is the perfect example when you can lose Gabriel and someone steps up like Nketiah did. Yeah,
and of course, James, we welcomed a couple of players back as well. Martinelli and Madueke were on the bench. But just going back to the centre-back situation, would you have picked Nketiah? And because there was a big divide on this, I thought, looking at some of the conversation online.
Yeah, and there were four great options, because you go White, who we've known for years, you move Saliba across, you can go Mosquera, who's played left centre-back, and then you go, if not Nketiah, Calafiori as well, because slot in, so Miles comes in. That's four great options, and to be honest, I think we'd have got a similar level of performance, but I think the Nketiah selection, the clues were there when you went with Kivior last year against Real Madrid in the absence of Gabriel. Just wanted to, if one player's coming out, one player comes in. I know you two do it all the time, but I've had the pleasure of asking Arteta one question ever in my life, and it was on tour a couple of years ago when he played Timber centre-back and White right-back, and asked him why he went that way round. He said he didn't want to make too many changes to the back four. And I think that is just the way he looks at it. Calafiori's in great form. He's got a good thing with Trossard. Let's keep it moving and keep the dynamics the same. So he went with Nketiah, and rightly so.
Clive, it feels like Arsenal have got an abundance of options in every position. I mean, I don't know about you, but I felt comfortable either way. In the end, Nketiah comes in and has a standout performance, despite before the game, many Tottenham fans looking at him as the potential weakness.
Yeah, in North London Derby week, you go through moments of fear, don't you? You're thinking, Gabriel's not there. Who's our most physical centre-back? It's probably Mosquera would be the most physical replacement. But actually, if you think about it from maybe the manager's point of view, he has 4 lefties and 4 righties out of his 8 defenders. He loses the lefty, he should put in a lefty. If you're part of that lefty group, that unit of defenders, and you lose one, and then they take a right footer and they put him in over you, you think, this isn't great, is it? So you have to think about a dressing room, right? So those 4 left footers, they know their role. They know when one goes out, they're going to come in, they're going to rotate. So I think it's very important for that continuity. So I had some scary moments last week, and I was thinking we need Mosquera to fight them on long throws and set pieces. But actually, it worked out really well. I thought Hincapié, what he does so well is he tracks people right into the middle of the pitch, and he tracks the ball, and he's really aggressive, which allows other people to fold around him and cover the gaps that he leaves. So I thought he worked out really well.
It's amazing that we've gone this long, guys, without talking about Eberechi Eze. So, James, I give you the first opportunity to wax lyrical about him. I mean, it couldn't have gone any better for him on the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's salt in the wounds for Tottenham, isn't it? Because it's not just the signing, it's not just losing a derby 4-1, it's not just Arsenal extending their lead at the top, it's the guy you thought you were signing scoring a hat-trick against you. And I think Arsenal fans were enjoying every goal more and more. Sometimes it's those early goals you celebrate the most because, you know, it kind of releases a bit of tension. But with every extra goal Eze was scoring, we were enjoying it more and more. It was an interesting game because there'd been criticism of Eze going into this break, which I thought was a bit strange, that we knew what kind of player he was, a moments player who might be in and out of games at times. And I actually think this game was no different, really. Lovely chip over the top to Declan Rice. Rice, you know, some argue he should score. And that's nearly a moment he has. And then for maybe 20 minutes, he's having lovely touches, you know, little moments where he shows his guile. But he's not really having the impact on the game you'd expect of a player of his quality necessarily. But that's because his impact comes from that one moment where he can dart in between 2 players and, you know, little backlift, finds the goal to make it 2-0, then adds a third and a fourth, and we're all partying at the Emirates. And you know, he seemed to be enjoying it too. And I just thought it was perfect. It was a really good response, actually, to some of the criticism that I found a bit strange going into the international break.
Simon, was that Eberechi Eze's real arrival at Arsenal? I know he's been at the club for a little while, but this felt like the kind of statement moment for him.
Yeah, this was the day when he announced his arrival, wasn't it? And I remember in the build-up to the game, I was writing a piece and I was looking at, you know, his first goal was at Port Vale away, which is probably not, when he's in the back garden, what he's imagining.
Yeah.
Then he gets his first goal at the Emirates, it's against Palace. Can't really celebrate, obviously. So the North London derby, it just felt like for me this was set up for him as an Arsenal fan, and also because we've got all these attackers coming back. You know, Odegaard's close, you know, Madueke, Martinelli. The competition is going to go up. So this was kind of his last game before the cavalry turned up, and he's got to deliver. And it was a great performance, and it was what James was saying. It's about moments with Eze. He's very different to Odegaard. He's not going to run a game. He's not going to dictate it. But in those magic moments that Arteta talks about, he can deliver it. And for him, yeah, I just loved the second goal. He just, you know, he's just laughing, isn't he? He just can't believe what's happening, because this is exactly what you would dream of if you were him. And for him to have that moment at home in front of the Arsenal fans, I mean, he won't have a better day than that.
Absolutely. I mean, Clive, James referenced some of the criticism that Eberechi Eze has had. I've got to be honest, I've not criticised him, but I have looked at him and thought, we could get a bit more out of you. You're still not playing at that tip-top level that I expect from you. And I've been wondering in my own mind, Clive, whether it was an Arteta instruction for him to stay central and not really roam in the way that he might have done in some of the games where he was struggling for service, or if it was him and his desire to want to be in those positions. But after yesterday, he'll come away from that thinking, that's where I've got to be, won't he? And tactically, it just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we've grown up on 80-touch Odegaard, right? And Eze has 35 on occasions. And that's a big difference to what your number 10 is doing. But he also has 4 or 5 shots a game, you got to decide what you take. And I think the Newcastle away game was a real sign to me where he was. I thought, if you watch that game again, look at his shots. I mean, Nick Pope made some great saves, and on that day he could have scored 2 goals, and we talk about him as that game was your rival game. I think we just got to get used to the fact that we're playing a lot more in pairs now. We have Timber and Saka on the right, Calafiori and Trossard on the left. And we have Eze and centre forward in the middle. And it's a lot different to what we used to do, and we played in units of 3, in my opinion. So he's playing close to centre forward, he's moving around that player, whether it be Gyökeres, whether it be Marino, and he's working off that player in the D, right by zone 14. He's working that area. And his contact on the ball, both feet, oh man, what height is that? I mean, it's textbook stuff. You look at it, he's just middle of the ball every time. It's like, wow. He makes that look so easy, as he did for England, which we all know about last week.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was no Phil Foden to provide him with a wondrous
I don't know how he did it.
pass. Yeah,
I don't know how he did it without him.
Don't know how he
I
did
don't
it.
know how he did it. Incredible.
Clive, I've got to ask you about that kind of interchange between Eze and Merino that I thought was really, really effective yesterday. Merino obviously is a midfield player by nature, and so he's quite comfortable, isn't he, dropping in? But did Eze show something different in terms of being capable and willing, I suppose, to step forward and be that false nine at times?
Yeah, he did, and I think it's quite hard to sort of read after the moment, because I think we work so well as a collective. We just move into each other's spaces, and we know the coverage of the pitch. So people who analyse football like say, "Oh, we're doing this now, we're doing that now." I look at the collective group, I look at the pairs, I think, well, they working with each other. If somebody drops away, the other one drops in, and that's it. I think it's a lot more instinct based off a framework and principle which the manager's put in place. But the players are good enough. And what really stood out to me from watching in the ground yesterday was the technical level of these players. I thought it was really high. Looking after the ball, not forcing issues to create mistakes where Spurs could leverage from and get territory up the pitch and do what they want to do. I thought we were really secure on the ball. And any times that we weren't secure was the period after they scored and momentum slipped away. And so this team is very, very wise and smart, and the technical level is underestimated because we scored a few set pieces. I think that will come into the fore next few weeks.
Yeah, it feels like the set-piece FC narrative, it died a death yesterday, didn't it, with 4 goals from open play. Simon, let me come to you on the Tottenham goal. I think we have to touch on it, as much as we want to be celebrating today. We do have to touch on it. Is that a lesson for Martin Zubimendi, just the lesson that you can't dwell on the ball, you can't get caught in possession in that sort of area?
It was probably his one error of the game, wasn't it? I actually thought he was having a really good game before that, and I was doing the player ratings and I had him marked pretty highly, and particularly because the way Tottenham set up, Timber was really pressing high up the pitch and Zubimendi was just dropping into right back, felt like he was ahead of everything, and just there, it just caught on the ball. And I mean, for Arsenal, it's weirdly they've conceded that goal a few times. We were talking about it before we came on, the Mateta goal last season, pre-season, Sarr scored the same goal. And yeah, I just think for Zubimendi, that's probably, knowing him as a player and how intelligent he is, he probably won't make that mistake again. But it was the one rare moment where Arsenal had an error and they were pretty emphatically punished. And it's probably a goal, there's almost a bit of a freak occurrence, but Zubimendi, I think, quite harshly punished for what was his one error, really.
Yeah, he just takes one touch too many for me. I mean, James, there's been a few goals that Arsenal have conceded this season that have come from Zubimendi errors, but I think it's important that we defend him, because ultimately, when you're playing at the base of the midfield and you're playing high-risk passes sometimes, that is going to happen, isn't it? You're going to give fouls away or you're going to give the ball away.
Yeah, I agree. I thought he was brilliant yesterday, and I think he's been getting better and better as the season goes on. I think when you're a player that you channel so much of your football through, but also, I think he plays much more of a, I want to find the word, like, he's a lot more leggy in midfield than I realised in terms of the up and down. You're right, covering for Timber, but on a couple of those goals, he's the one breaking into the box. I'm thinking, this is our number 6. And you kind of, with that the third goal, so Eze's second, both Rice and Zubimendi are charging into the box. I'm thinking, okay, who's back? Who's sitting back? But, Arsenal are so happy to step up together as a unit. I think when Zubimendi's taking on all these different roles, taking on so much responsibility, not just at the base, kind of recycling possession, keeping it moving, you're going to have the odd error. And I honestly think, yes, it was a good tackle by Palhinha. It's a great finish from Richarlison. I genuinely think you're punished 1 in 1,000 times. Or if you're Arsenal, apparently 3 times in a calendar year. But, it just feels like very harsh punishment for, okay, he got caught in possession. It happens.
Yeah, I'm willing to take a bet that if Richarlison attempts that 50 times, he barely hits the target once. Like, honestly, I think it was that much of a freak moment. That's why I want to defend Zubimendi and not make too much out of it. Clive, you're a man that's good at looking at things with logic. That goal that Eberechi Eze scored, the second Arsenal goal, Eberechi Eze's first, did Tottenham have a case that was offside? Because I got to be honest, if that was given against us, I'd be livid today.
You're talking to the wrong person. I've got no sympathies there on that one. I thought, you could say, but I don't think it directly affected the goalkeeper, if I'm being honest with you. But my eyes are wanting to see that, So I could be open to criticism. If it was a 1-0 game, maybe, and that goal was the goal, then maybe we'd be talking about it for the whole day, right? And we'd be loving Michael Oliver for letting it happen. So yeah, I think it's just one of those moments. I just like the fact that he's getting shots off in those areas that are just really on target and hard and making the goalkeeper work, and that's really important. Harry, mate, I've got no sympathy for them at the moment. I've got to be honest with you.
Fair enough. James, what about you, mate? And what did you make of that goal? Because I know a lot of Spurs fans growing up in North London. There's plenty of them in my life, unfortunately. And they're all very unhappy about that award of the goal.
Yeah, it's a talking point in the Premier League right now. I think Van Dijk should have stood at the Etihad and it didn't. I think Maria scored one at Anfield the other day that Liverpool fans were looking at. And this one's being looked at too. It's going to be so hard to determine how much as a player, impact, because even if they're not in the line of sight, maybe the goalkeeper's thinking, what if he gets a touch on it? What if it... So there's a few ways you can look at it. I'd rather those goals stand because I think you should do quite a lot wrong for a goal not to stand. We want goals in the game. But there's a case. I think this is one of those. There's one every year that the PGMOL seem to have to get a hold of quite quickly. Just decide what is the rule, how they're going to officiate it and be consistent through the season, because they haven't been at the moment.
Simon?
Yeah, I think it's the only reason why I could see why it was given was because the distance between sort of Vicario and Trossard. Look at the one the Etihad with Robertson where he's right there. There's a bit of distance, and also Vicario getting a hand to it. I just wonder whether the sort of VAR are looking at it and going, look, no, he's still got there. He had a chance to save it. But as James says, I think the issue is it's always with decisions, it's consistency, isn't it? You watch one game and it gets disallowed, the next one it doesn't. Maybe there's a thing we just have a blanket rule and say, look, if you're offside in any way, we're just going to say you're interfering because you're offside. So it's a difficult one, but I think Thomas Frank didn't make a point of it after the game because rightly so. Yeah. They were outplayed, and let's be honest, that wasn't the reason they lost.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just think it's important that you highlight these inconsistencies, because if we're going to get on our soapbox every time a decision goes against us and we complain about a lack of consistency, I think you have to raise that point at least.
Yeah, I agree.
If the goal's given, fine, but for me, the fact that there was two, maybe even three players in an offside position, that should have led to a slightly at least longer check than the one that we got yesterday. But hey, I'm not complaining. Tribalism is a thing, isn't it? I want to talk to you guys about Jurrien Timber, and I'll come to you first on this, Simon, because his form is just incredible at the moment. I mean, I spoke to him after the game and my first question was, where'd you find the energy? Because he's up and down, he's everywhere, he's inside, he's on the outside, he's just been in incredible form. And I love Ben White, but he's left him behind, hasn't he?
Yeah, I feel sorry for Ben White because Timber's playing so well, and it's the easiest reason why White's not in the team. But Timber, for me, is the best right-back in the Premier League at the moment. I don't think there's any debate over that. Chelsea fans might argue Reece James. I think when Trent Alexander was here, he was an argument as well. But what he does going forward and defensively, I just don't think there's anyone better than Timber. The way he gets forward and presses, the way he carries the ball, drives forward. I think that link with Saka, which was probably White's biggest strength for why he should play, was how he combined with Saka. I think Timber's got that now. And he's just at a level where he's just absolutely in complete flow, and his game is so good, and he's probably been close to Arsenal's best player this season. I know Gabriel's out injured. I think Timber can take that mantle forward, but yeah, his performances are just incredible. I mean, he's so good. I kind of say it every week when I watch him, just like, I don't know if he's getting the praise outside of that Arsenal bubble that he deserves, because for me, yeah, he is the best right back in the league. Yeah, he is. I mean, Clive, tactically, what is it that Jurrien Timber brings that's different to Ben White, do you think? Because we keep talking about the link up with Saka, which is obviously important for anybody that plays down that right-hand side for Arsenal. But Timber's, for me, his game has evolved and developed a lot in the last few months. Yeah, so Ben White also was a centre-half, and he went out to right-back, and he's a very good athlete, a very good straight-line runner. So a lot of his... And we grew up with, like, attacking fullbacks being overlapping fullbacks, like Kieran Tierney-style fullback. Whereas I think that's one dimension of attacking play, whereas Timber's got a lot more. He plays on the inside. He's got a lot more carrying ability and dribbling. I look at him and Saka, and I think they attack and defend equally well as each other, and they look totally in sync. I feel that White sometimes facilitated Saka a little bit more, but now they're working together, Timber and Saka, as a two, and they really are destroying teams. I felt that Spurs really tried to lopside their pitch to really stop our right side. That was a little bit maybe historic, how you would stop Arsenal, by loading up that area. But Timber and Saka got out of there a lot, with 4 or 5 players, Spurs players over there on those two, and they're getting the ball into middle areas. And obviously we had a lot of success in the middle by the D and out onto the left as well, and that's where our chances really were executed. I thought tactically they got that wrong, because they couldn't stop them. They couldn't stop the ball coming out of that space, And so yeah, they're excellent, and they're so
all court. Do you know what I mean by that? Two-footed, both sides of the game. They're excellent, really good.
They are indeed. James, we've got to talk about Leandro Trossard's performance as well, because not only did he get the first goal, but he's just been in outstanding form now for such a long time. He's really stepped up, hasn't he, in the absence of Martinelli and Madueke, who would have been competition. He's taken on that mantle and he's been brilliant.
Yeah, let's not forget, I thought he was going to go off at one point. Quite early in the game, I thought that injury looked like it might take him off the pitch. Came on and played brilliantly. He was described as like the Premier League's best 12th man for a little while. Basically great off the bench, but if you actually rely on him week in, week out for 70 plus minutes, you don't get the same level of performance. Which is strange, because when you look at his technical quality, his strength, his experience, he's so clutch. He always has big goals and big moments in big games. You think, why do you not get more in terms of the full 90 maybe? This season he's been tremendous. I've loved watching him play, because when he is in his full flow, he's, I think, one of the most enjoyable players on the pitch to watch. He's actually kind of gone down as maybe more of a moments player. But like Eze, the two of them can be brilliant to watch when they do get a little bit more time on the ball, a few extra touches. And it was all happening for him. I'm just not surprised he got the opening goal, because he's one of the coolest heads in the Emirates Stadium, no matter how elevated it gets. And whether it be away at Old Trafford, an equaliser at the Bridge, an equaliser against Bayern Munich, here he is again scoring in a massive, massive game. So it just wasn't that surprising that Trossard pulled out a big moment. But he's in the form of his life at Arsenal. This is the best he's ever played, not just in terms of output, but the full package is there.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like defensively he's come on as well.
Yeah.
And he loves playing against Spurs, by the way. Liverpool are the only side that he scored more Premier League goals against. So, yeah, it's an occasion, certainly, for him.
Gets it.
I do want to ask you guys about this mentality chat, because going into the North London derby, there was a lot of talk about whether Arsenal would have the mettle, Simon, after watching Man City drop points and Liverpool obviously losing the way that they did. Would Arsenal be able to go out and capitalise? Because in the past, they haven't always capitalised, and that's led to questions, not so much about their ability, but whether they've got that steel mentally to get over the line. Have they answered many of those questions at the start of this season already for you?
I think so. I think the mentality definitely feels like there's been a shift in this squad. I kind of feel like they've had so many scars and emotional battles that they now feel ready for this. And it probably almost got lost yesterday, the opportunity they had in the title race with Liverpool and City losing, because it was the North London derby and everyone is so focused on winning that game. It was only when you looked at the table afterwards, oh, actually, 6 points clear now. And I think that Arteta spoke about it a bit afterwards, but capitalising on those moments when you can really, take advantage and put your foot down. Chelsea next weekend, absolutely massive with them in second place. But I do feel like there has been a shift in this squad. I don't know what it is. It just, maybe it's the depth they've got. Everyone feels like someone can step up, but it doesn't feel like now there is any sort of mental fragility. I feel like they've gone up a level, and it's just a confidence in that squad that they can get the results and they can take advantage when teams slip up.
Clive, do you think it's down to the depth as well as other things? Because I agree with Simon, the depth gives you that confidence that when one man goes down or two men go down, you've got ample cover to deal with that problem. Is the depth the key to what appears to be a shift in Arsenal's mentality?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think the thing that I see when I go is it's basically the hunger to get the ball back, to really get around it. I sense a hunger in the team that has always been there, but not like this. It's almost obsessive to the point they lose the ball, they all recover for each other. Someone makes a mistake, they go back in. When they have the ball, they want to dominate that offensively as well. I remember there's a bit in the, I sort of said this yesterday, Madueke came on late in the game and he didn't quite get out to his fullback to sort of do a defensive role, and Arteta was up and this is 4-1 and he was waving his arms at him and he was saying, get back in. He got back in and then he clapped him, and that's it. Those are the rules, mate. Those are the rules. This is what we do. We're 4-1 up, we leave nothing to chance. And that's the thing I can see. And if that ends up in us saying we're mentally stronger, then fine. But I can see a real aggression, particularly off the ball, to maintain what we have and make fewer mistakes when we're in possession. And that's the big difference to me this season. It really screams at me, and I'm watching every single week.
It was a dream weekend for Arsenal before a ball was even kicked in the derby, as both Liverpool and Manchester City dropped maximum points in their respective league games. Arsenal, as a result, sits 6 points clear, with Chelsea occupying second place. I mean, it's all shaping up, Simon, so nicely, but I'm trying to kind of protect my emotions a little bit here. Can we safely say, though, that Liverpool are out of the race?
It feels like it. Just because of the issues they have don't feel like issues that can be solved quickly. And you're constantly playing catch up. For me, it feels like the team that finishes above Man City will win the Premier League. They're the ones that I'm looking at, because historically we know they can go on those runs because they have Erling Haaland, who is a freak essentially, and can win games on his own. That is what I'm worried about. But I do feel with this Arsenal team, there is that confidence, and also their sort of outlook as a squad. We heard from Saka in the international break saying they're ignoring everything because opinions change like the weather, and they're not focused on it. And I think that is the way they kind of seem ambivalent to all this talk going on. Even Arteta's kind of quite relaxed about it, and they seem so focused and at ease with the position they're in, whereas I think in previous seasons you could almost feel that emotional tension. I don't know about you guys, but yesterday I didn't really feel that in the ground. It didn't feel like there was those sort of nerves that have perhaps been an issue in the past.
Yeah, I didn't feel it, and I didn't feel it even before we'd broken the deadlock. I sort of was of the opinion that if we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to be fine, and we're going to get through this. What about for you, James? Is it Manchester City that you're keeping the keenest eye on? Because obviously we play Chelsea next week, and we'll preview that game in a bit, but they're only 6 points behind us as well.
Yeah, so you've got to respect the work they're doing, and especially when we go to the bridge, teams can lose at the bridge. They've got good players, they've got a good manager, so yeah, and then that gets a bit nervy. But yeah, keeping an eye on them. City, I see as the biggest threat, and on Liverpool, it's funny because when people say, so I believe Liverpool out of the title race, and I actually thought that before this weekend anyway. I thought the gap was too big, and I don't think you can lose 5 games in the league. It's now 6, and lose 3-0 to your title rivals and expect to win the league. But people seem to think that Liverpool out of the title race means I no longer think they're a good team. They could easily click. Isak can get going. They get a couple of players back. They could win the Champions League. They could still have a very good season. But in terms of winning the Premier League title, I just think too much has gone wrong already. Now, anything can happen in the Premier League. Anyone can beat anyone. So who knows? A couple of bad results, they pull themselves back in it. But I just think too much has gone wrong for them. City have the best player in the league in Erling Haaland, and I think we're the best collective.
Clive, in the position that we're in, it's easy, isn't it, to get carried away and to start dreaming of what might be in May. But it is a dangerous game, isn't it, writing people off. Teams that have been there, done it, got over the line and have the quality that both Liverpool and Manchester City do in their ranks.
Exactly, but I've heard Simon Collings say Liverpool are out the title race. Let's clip that one up. So, I think Liverpool are struggling. Obviously, we can all see that. And the results, for a long time, not just this season, but even towards the end of last season, they didn't have a lot of pressure on them. They dropped away, and things have been happening to them. So I think City are the ones we all fear because we are all mentally scarred by them. But it's quite hard for us at the moment because it's quite clear. Everyone's giving us so many flowers. You've got the best squad. There's little excuses now. And we can all see that we're probably the best team. It doesn't mean you're going to win it because we haven't done it. And I think that's the key thing. That's the only thing stopping me booking my hotel on Upper Street. That's the only thing, is that we haven't done it yet. And until we do, it's always going to be a little nagging doubt. But your eyes don't lie. We know what we're watching. We just need to continue it. And we also will know that we've got players missing. And there's another version of Arsenal out there we haven't seen yet. And that's going to be really exciting when that comes. And
you wouldn't bet against there being more players missing, would you, between now and the end of the season, given our injury luck? So, you just don't know what's around the corner, and that's why it's a very, very dangerous game to play. But I'll come to you, James. Is there anything in particular that you fear? Is there something that you believe could be Arsenal's undoing? And it's good to know what the problems are that are potentially around the corner so that you can try and work against them. But is there anything that you worry about that might be what stops us, what holds us back?
Clive's right, we haven't done it. So until you do, you kind of struggle to believe. I mean, I became a fan in 2006. So some people even remember at least winning a Premier League. I don't know what that feels like. So I've got that feeling of, well, how does it feel? I can't look back to previous seasons and go, well, when we won it, it felt like this. So this is all very new to me. So maybe that feeling of this group haven't done it, we as a club haven't done it for ages. Yeah, that's a part of it. I do think if we've got one slight problem, I think we've got, in every position, we can put our player up as the top 3 in their position. But Pep Guardiola, do we have the best manager in the league? Arteta's having an unbelievable season, but Pep's the best. Haaland's the best striker in the league. Sometimes I think, do you need the best individual, the best something? And maybe we've just got the best collective. Maybe we've just got the best squad depth. And maybe one of those players, like a Rice or a Gabriel, will emerge as the best player in the league for different reasons to what Haaland's being judged for. I don't know, but that's kind of maybe the only thing. that individual brilliance, but then we just saw it on display 3 times against Spurs yesterday. So we've got individual brilliance now that can win us a game, even when the collective's shining as well. So, look, I'm feeling confident. I am, because, you know, what our eyes, as Clive was saying, what our eyes are showing us that Arsenal look ready.
Simon, that's an interesting point about the collective versus having the best individuals. I think it's a really interesting discussion. Is that something that you look at? Do you look at like Erling Haaland and think, well, he could win the league for Manchester City, but do we have that guy up top that can do it for us?
I think you can look at that, but when I looked at how Arsenal fell down last season, for me it was about depth. You know, even if you'd had Erling Haaland and he got injured, you'd have been looking at where's the next cab off the rank. And I think the biggest thing that this window did, that pretty much, barring an incredible injury crisis greater than we've ever seen, is injuries are not going to stop you. That's what they've done with the squad. So, you know, to be at this position where they are now, and Kai Havertz has played 1 game. Martin Odegaard started 5-6 games. You've just lost Gabriel, where you've got a squad of players when you can bring the next in. And I think for Arsenal, that, for this team and the way it was assembled, that for me always felt important. The collective felt important in playing into that. So I think they've gone about it the right way. Yes, maybe you haven't got an Erling Haaland, but look at, compare it to like Liverpool with Isak, you know, spending 125 million on one player. Arsenal go and get, you know, your Eze and your Gyökeres, or your Madueke and Gyökeres, how you want to split it. So I think that was right for Arsenal to do that, because that is what cost them last season, not having the depth, and they've addressed that now.
Clive, what do you make of that? I think it's a really interesting discussion. You know, do we have that one talisman that's going to take us over the line like an Erling Haaland could, or do we not need that?
I'm not sure we need it. I think we are a team of people that do things in a collective way. I think pre-season, when we see Isak signing for Liverpool, we can all remember him dancing around the Emirates last year for Newcastle in the League Cup. I'm thinking, crikey, that's going to make them really, really strong. Well, that version of Isak will make anyone strong, but he doesn't always play like that. And they've put a lot of money into that one singular player, and I'm not sure he's made them better at this point in time. I think what James was saying earlier was quite interesting. I think we may not have that superstar, but the superstars get that validation when they win. And I think we haven't got that winning validation, because there are players in this group which I feel are generational players. I can't say it loud until they win a big trophy. And I think and when that happens, I think we'll talk about them differently. I think people on the outside will talk about them differently. We all know Steve and Gabriel are excellent, but they haven't got Van Dijk's medals. You know, so until they do, that's when they're not going to be judged. So we just got to wait. We just got to wait. I know it sounds boring, right? We just got to wait. I think we know what we're watching, but we've got to wait, hold our horses, and just keep ticking off these games. And then we can start throwing the praise around about how good we actually are. But you've got to win, because otherwise you're open to criticism.
Yeah, of course. I feel like for me, the big difference has been the way we've been able to control the emotion. We haven't lost the emotion. That was a big part of us getting to this place where we're competitive again. But we've managed to control it. Like you saw the game against Spurs, the first half an hour in years gone by, if we were facing a low block like that, not really creating too many clear-cut chances, struggling for a way through at points, the crowd would have been on their backs. There would have been that element of anxiety, that frustration. And instead, it was kind of like everyone was just, it's a matter of time, and we will wear them down. The games keep getting bigger, and we've got 2 huge matches to look forward to over the next week. On Wednesday, we host Bayern Munich in a top-of-the-table clash in the Champions League before another London derby awaits us in the form of Chelsea at the Bridge on Sunday. Clive, let's start with the game in midweek. Bayern are going to provide quite the test, aren't they? But is this a game that you would be prioritising if you're Mikel Arteta, or would you be tempted to roll the dice and make a few changes given what's coming on Sunday?
Well, Harry, you sit with Mikel Arteta most weeks. Do you think he cares a lot about the next thing that's going to happen? I think he'll be focusing on this game hugely, and there was it looks like there was some tired legs at the end of the game yesterday. Calafiori wasn't springing off that pitch yesterday. He looked like he was a bit fatigued, maybe injured. So you can see someone like Miles Lewis-Skelly coming in, and I think he's really suited to his game, his way he protects the ball, and the referees are far more sympathetic to him. And so I think it's a really good opportunity for him to play. And there could be a level of rotation in wide areas, because we've got 3 intense games in a week. But those players now who've been sitting there injured have been watching this from the outside thinking, I want some of this, and I don't want to be the weak link. So that rotation may happen, but it'll be positive rotation. You know, Madueke maybe a little bit closer to minutes. I can see him having a bigger chunk of time on the pitch. And it'd be nice to see, right? Because Trossard, who's been unbelievable, he can't keep going, although he's got a great injury record. And I do think his game really suits the Chelsea environment, and I'm really hopefully ready for the weekend. So I can maybe see a couple of changes, particularly left back and maybe one wide player.
I agree with Clive in that Mikel Arteta, he's crazy about what's coming next. That's the way he does things. That's the way he focuses. And it's one step after the other. There's no looking ahead. There's none of that. But as a fan, I can't help but feel like actually, given the way the Champions League format is nowadays, Simon, it would make sense to make 4 or 5 changes to protect players and put us in a position where we could go and get what might turn out to be a season-defining result at Stamford Bridge on Sunday.
Yeah, if you were going to have to lose one of these 2 games, which is not something you want to think about, it would be the Bayern Munich game. Because of the format in the Champions League, you can afford to lose a game. We now know this season it's probably 15, 16 points, gets you top 8 and gets you straight into the last 16. I just agree with Clive. Knowing Mikel Arteta, there is no way he's going to think, we'll just sort of roll over and make massive changes. I mean, the depth means they can make good changes. I would like sort of 4 or 5 changes. I agree, maybe swapping the fullbacks, maybe changing one of the wingers. But I come back to like Port Vale away. I can remember being there and was sort of queuing next to one of the Port Vale fans. The team comes out and he's like, Saka's playing. Saliba's playing. Like, that's Port Vale away. So, I mean, Bayern Munich in the Champions League, Arteta what he's going to be like. I just would hope sort of 4 or 5 changes, sprinkling here and there. I think we saw in the Carabao Cup game, when you make a lot of changes, it can be a bit dysfunctional. So try and keep that spine and get players off early, get 60 minutes in and get players off. But it's just not an Arteta's nature to make those changes.
It's not. You're absolutely right. But James, if I had one criticism of Mikel Arteta over the course of the last couple of games, and it's very hard to find one, believe me, I'm scraping the barrel here, but it feels like at Sunderland, he could have made a midfield change maybe prior to us conceding the second goal. It looked like they were tired legs. Even yesterday, at 3-1, at 4-1, he could have done more in terms of making changes for me. Had he done that, would he be in a better place to then go, let's play everyone against Bayern on Wednesday because I've saved 10, 15, 20 minutes in each of their legs and they're going to be fine? Could he have set himself up in a better way to be able to rotate or not rotate, for the Bayern game? Or do you not look at it can you not do that?
Worst answer you've probably ever had on this Inside Gooner show. I don't know. And the reason I say I don't know is because I really don't. Because when you're managing that game, I always think, get fresh legs on the pitch, but you've got to get up to speed with the game as well, and you've got to know, it becomes muscle memory for these players after 30 minutes on the pitch, what the Tottenham players are doing, what their game plan is. So you want to see that out, and I know, we were comfortable, but let's say they did nick one back and it's 3-2. Suddenly you're going, well, I don't know if I want 3-4 extra players on the pitch who haven't been up to speed with the derby. You point to other games maybe, but against Sunderland, I was sympathetic for him not bringing players on because they didn't really know who was going to make an obvious impact. So, yeah, again, sorry, awful answer. I don't know. Of course, ideally, I'd like to see a few more changes because if Gyökeres and Gabriel were fit, which 3 weeks ago we thought they were going to be fit for this game, no way would any of us have wanted Nketiah and Marino to start the North London derby. But look at the performance we got with those two in key areas in our spine for such a massive game. So sometimes just trust the players because Benoit and Lewis Kelly are probably more ready than we think. If not through game time, then certainly through seeing what players in their positions are doing and wanting to prove a point on a big night against Bayern at the Emirates.
Clive, what do you make of that? Could Mikel Arteta have set himself up better in terms of sticking with that team? Had he been a little bit more proactive in some of the changes and doing them a little bit earlier in recent weeks, or am I being really harsh?
Being really harsh, Harry. I think the Sunderland game, when you don't win, you could always do something else, can't you? And I was thinking, maybe he could have brought on Norgard for that game for last.
That's the one. That's the one I was thinking as well.
That's the one I was thinking about. Only because once you decide you're going to go to the back 5 and defend, then commit to it 100%. But then again, Norgard could have come in and deflected one into his own net. You assume the substitute's going to be perfect and better, but you don't know that, right? And so for me, I think in this game, hey, look, 3-1 up, I'm thinking, crikey, we're giving the ball away. I don't want to be that team that's 3-0 up and ends up drawing the derby. So he's going to keep it exactly the same. We get the 4th goal, and then I think the changes happen thereafter. He's a sensible, serious, cautious manager. And in those moments, I want him to be really sensible and serious, because those games mean a lot to all of us. You know, don't take any risks with them. We can talk about it later, you know, when we got the 3 points. And I think that's just the way he's wired. So I'm okay with it, Harry. Although I think there's so many games coming up in the next few weeks. There's so much time for players to play. And it's going to come. It is going to happen. This can't continue this level of intensity with the same 11, 12, 13 playing.
Yeah, I agree. And also, what was the point in assembling this squad if you're not going to lean on it when you need to? And ultimately, we've seen that cost us in recent years, and we need to be able to show that trust, of course, in those players when the moment comes along. If we turn our attention to the game at the weekend against Chelsea, Simon, this feels massive. Chelsea are 6 points behind us. I don't believe, and you can clip this up all you like, I don't believe that Chelsea have what it takes to go the distance in the title race. But on their day, at the Bridge, they can beat anyone. And we've got to be very switched on here, haven't we, if we're going to take something from it?
Definitely. I mean, it's a title race, 6-pointer if such a thing exists. And the swing of momentum it will have either way is huge. And also for this squad to have... When we went on the international break, we all looked at those 3 games, didn't we, and thought, wow, that is a big period. And I think to go there and put in a performance and a result would be absolutely massive. I do agree with Chelsea. I think people question their sort of recruitment model, but attacking-wise, they signed a lot of good attackers. I know the door revolves quickly, but look at people like Esteval, Gittins, who's starting to find some form. Pedro Neto's been very good. So I think it will be a really difficult game. What I want to see from Arsenal, which I think we've seen this season, is that level of maturity. And look at that Chelsea side. I think it is talented, but I think they're sort of still kind of learning, and they're almost where this first Arsenal team was, you know, sort of 2-3 years ago in that first title race. I feel like they're there, and I think this is a game where Arsenal should go there and show, look, we are a mature team. We are in this title race, and we're ready to show you why we're going to win it. And
James, it almost feels like if you can go to a place like that where your rivals will be looking at as a potential place where you might drop points and you can win, that almost sends like a really damaging blow to them as well, doesn't it? Like if you're a Man City fan, you're looking at it, you're going Chelsea away. They might slip up here, and then they go and win it. It's like you have that sinking feeling. We've experienced it many times before.
Yeah, it feels so funny though, because we sent a message at Newcastle, we sent a message at Old Trafford, we just sent a message against Tottenham. Sunderland was a massive weekend because City played Liverpool. It's just every game, because this is massive because we're away at Chelsea and they're second and they're 6 points behind. But whenever we play 17th at home, that would be massive because you can't drop points against 17th at home. So welcome to the title race, I guess. I said I've never seen us win it, but I've experienced a few. And, you know, I just think, yes, it's a big game, but this kind of all-or-nothing mentality that sometimes comes with every big game, I don't know, I think Arsenal they put a lot of really good points on the board. I'm backing us to win there. I think we're good enough to win there. I'll be disappointed if we don't win there. But they're a good side as well, and it's a long season. So, you know, I'm just sort of braced for the ups and downs of a title race. Things have gone really, really well so far. They're a good side. It's not the end of the world if we don't win at Stamford Bridge, but we're absolutely capable of doing it. I think we will. Yeah, there will be ups and downs. There's no doubt about that. Clive, is it dangerous to go into this kind of all-or-nothing mentality with every single game? I mean, a draw at Stamford Bridge after recent results, it wouldn't be the end of the world, would it? It's an opportunity, but it wouldn't be the end of the world if we don't...
It won't be the end of the world, but we're Arsenal people, so it will be the end of the world. And Sunderland was nearly the end of the world, wasn't it, for some people? So, yeah, Chelsea are quite... I agree with Simon, really. They're a young team. They're quite active, talented team. But they may not have the sort of assurance that we have. And we have gone through this for a little bit, longer than they have. So they still establish themselves in the league, establish themselves as talented players. Whereas I think our players think they belong here. They belong at this level. We've got more experience in the Champions League now. It's our third year in that competition. And so we are at the top table. So now you have to just show it. And I think it's important to go to Chelsea and impose yourself on them. And I think that's the key. You know, we've been there many times in the past when they've been a stronger team, a stronger club, and they've imposed themselves on us and really put us to the sword. I think I'm not saying time for us to do that, but it should hold no fear. It doesn't guarantee a win, but it should hold no fears for us. And I think we've got many weapons to come into this group and to really, hopefully, return the favour that they've given to us many, many times in the past.
It's very difficult, isn't it, guys? I'll come to you, James, to know what the team might look like in a week's time, because we know that there's a few players that are kind of knocking on that door in terms of returning. We've got this big Champions League game in midweek beforehand. But looking ahead, Is there any players that you're hoping to see back? I mean, Odegaard's not far away. I don't think Victor Gyökeres is either.
Yeah, Gyökeres was really coming into some good form. I actually thought he was playing better than people were giving him credit for as well. I thought he was similar to Eze, kind of before the couple goals against Atletico and the performance against Burnley. I thought he was playing better than people were generally saying. The goals just weren't there, or the moments weren't necessarily there. He stretches the pitch so much for us. He creates so much space for the players behind him, Victor Gyökeres. He's a tireless runner. He works so hard. I think he must be a nightmare to play against as a defender. So you want an option like that against Chelsea, especially just to impose himself physically in that game. They are a young squad. They are quite new to this end of the table, certainly for the last few years' work anyway. So that would be a player I'd love to have back. Odegaard, because he's our captain, and we've seen the impact he can have in so few minutes already this season. So they're the two I'm looking at. But I thought Madueke looked good when he came on against Tottenham. And it was interesting he went for him over Martinelli on the left. Martinelli, you know, for his work rate and his pace and his directness. But Madueke, maybe as the left footer, gave us something else there. So yeah, excited to see them back. And there's probably 4 or 5 others I forgot about.
Yeah, there's so many at the moment.
Yeah, so many.
There's so many at the moment. Simon, just on sort of that midfield area in particular, Zubimendi and Rice, it feels to me like they've developed a really strong bond and a partnership. And what I really like about them is that they're adaptable. They can play like a double pivot if they want. One can step slightly further forward. That's key in away games, isn't it? Their ability to sit as a 2 and protect the defence.
Yeah, massively. And I think James made the point earlier about Zubimendi sometimes goes forward and then it's Rice dropping in, and they're far more interchangeable than they thought they would be. I mean, I thought Zubimendi would be proper sort of number 6 base in midfield, but in reality, as you say, it's a double pivot at times. Sometimes they push forward, which makes it hard for the opposition to know what to do. But I think away from home, you know, if I think of Chelsea away, I'm like, that's a Declan Rice game.
Yeah, completely agree. Right, let's go around the table and get some predictions. We'll start with the Bayern game. James, let's come to you first.
2-2.
Simon.
I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal.
Clive, what you got for us? Bayern Munich at home.
3-1 Arsenal. I would have said 2-1, but Simon done me, so 3-1.
I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw. I think we'll do just enough to get a point and save ourselves for the big one coming up on Sunday. Speaking of which, Simon, how do you see that one going?
I'm going to go 1-0 to Arsenal.
James?
Yeah, I agree. 1-0. Well, I was doubting myself there. It's going to be a tough game. 1-0 though.
Clive, how do you see it going at the Bridge?
2-0. 2-0. I think it's time. I quite like going there, actually. It's a good day. And it's a nice part of town. So, yeah, I fancy us to do well.
It is a lovely part of town. So I'm going to say 3-0 to the Arsenal. There you go. That's all we've got time for on today's Inside Gooners. And if you want to keep yesterday's celebrations going, then don't forget you can go and check out Inside Spurs to see their reactions. Thanks for your company. Thanks to Simon Collings, James Bayliss and Clive Palmer. We'll see you all on the next one. Until then, take care.